So as far as the DevOps environment that you put together, is it, when you have this force of so you have new capabilities that Wiley wants, and then is there a speed to market that you're able to achieve now that you didn't have before? Or I'd love for you to comment to that, if there's kind of a new offense capability that you're able to obtain from this.
Yeah, certainly. So I think speed to market is one of the keys, right? But the other piece of that is it used to be this trade-off decision that we had to make. Hey, do you want to go fast or do you want to go stable? Right. And now using CICD, using infrastructure as code, we can do both. And that's kind of the promise we've been digging at as technologists for my entire career, right? Is how do we move fast and securely and stably, and we can deliver them both. And you see this, I mean, in response to the pandemic specifically, as an educational technology company, right? We saw our users switching very quickly, and many of our educational platforms, we saw tremendous growth, right? So really, as students went from learning in the classroom to learning at home, a lot of our platforms, which were designed for that, are seeing this huge growth. And we were able, because we were running with CICD and elastic infrastructure, to scale up to meet that demand. And in the one or two cases, we go through in detail some of the one of the issues we saw, where there was one known issue that cropped up when you doubled and tripled the load on that system. But we were able to, using CICD, push out a change within days to address that and really continue to improve the performance. So yeah.
And for those that don't know what CICD is, just give just a little overview, just a brief.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Bill. Continuous integration and continuous deployment. So it's just the process of building your applications on a continuous basis and then deploying it to production on a continuous basis. I mean, more specifically, continuous deployment generally focuses on being on a continually deployable state, and then making the decision, do we deploy that or not? Right.
Now, are you using, obviously that's a quite agile framework, but are you using agile, or are you using like Kanban? What are you using for a deployment process methodology?
Yeah, Wiley is very focused on agile. We're in this amazingly transformative time. Another reason I love being part of Wiley is because we are going through, I think, 4 major transformations right now, right?
Wow.
And given and continuing to produce great products and services. And I think that's probably also one of the reasons they brought me in. But one of those transformations is agile. We've been at it for a long time, but really in a much more focused way for the past couple of years. And now I'm working with the CIO team to really make sure we're advancing that in operations and platform engineering and all of those teams as well.
That's great. So as it relates to for security and compliance, as I think you were going down a track of compliance a little earlier, and then I kind of sidetracked it a bit. But I'd love to know. So you've got this speed capability now with this agile process, but then you've got essentially this invisible framework. I'm going to call it invisible, even though it's not invisible. But I'd love to know how you break that apart. And I have a couple of security questions, but I know you have a compliance as code mantra that you follow. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. It's a big focus for me. I'll tell you one of the reasons. I won't tell you where this happened, but I will tell you that at one point I found myself in a SOX compliance war room. There were some SOX issues. We weren't where we needed to be. And I found myself for a week in a war room going through evidence and manually going through piece by piece and collecting. And enterprise environment, you have many, many different applications, many different ways of doing things, right? And especially in companies where you grow by acquisition, that may not be coherent across all of your different applications and services. So I sat in this room, and one by one, people came in, and it was like, okay, we need your evidence about how you're managing change. And they say, okay, well, we've got this. We do it in Jira. And another team came in and said, oh yeah, we do it all in ServiceNow. And another team said, yeah, we've got it all in email. And they're pulling out old emails and going through server logs. And I really felt to myself, I never want to do this again, right?
I love this story. I think this is great. So basically, the SOX problem, you discovered it.
Right. It was not so great at the time, right? But it certainly explains one of the reasons that I am so focused on compliance automation and compliance as code. And I think those are two separate but related pieces, right? Because I thought to myself, there's got to be a better way to do this. And I looked to, some of the thought leaders in DevOps, right? In that space, looked to, articles by folks like Gene Kim, who are writing a defensive audit, and Patrick Debois, and those folks. And there's a focus there on automation and using CICD as that defining line rather than using people. But I find that it actually has to start more fundamentally, right? Where you look at, hey, what are the core processes? And if you look at change, which is one of them that you're always going to be audited on, right? There's a fundamental building block there where if you can set that the same across your entire organization, you're going to take leaps forward. The other is IAM, identity and access management, and identity governance, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't have those nailed down in the same way, collecting that evidence is going to be really hard, right? And one of the things I dislike almost most about that is the people who were sitting in the war room with me were great engineers. You know what they were doing? Not engineering. They weren't developing products. They weren't making innovations to get out to market. They were tracking down old emails, right? So if we can set those basic building blocks and then develop a framework to track your tests for audit, and then automate those, there's an opportunity here to save millions, not only millions, but to save the time of your engineers to focus on building better products, getting to market quicker, and not running around and collecting evidence. And that for me is invaluable and a very exciting thing to be thinking about and working on.